Alright, lads. On Sky Sports today, Anthony Joshua gave an interview, right? Now, this is the first time I think Anthony Joshua, well, certainly since he became a world champion, has talked about him retiring from the sport, or his plans on retiring from the sport. Now, he set himself a 5-year plan, alright? He's basically said that, well, he's alluded to the fact that this isn't the start of his career, that he is coming towards, he's not coming towards the end, probably in the twilight end of his career, in a sense that he said that, basically he gives himself 5 more years. Essentially, he's given himself an Olympic cycle plus an additional year. Now, Anthony Joshua talked about retirement, or, not obviously talking about it, but talking about, that the fact that he's not at the start of his career anymore. That's not a surprise. I mean, AJ has been pro for, man, the years go by quick. He's been pro for nearly 8 years. Man, the years go by quick. Turned pro in 2013, I think it was. And, he's been fighting at a high level. He's been fighting at a high level since 2017. Realistically, since 2017 was when AJ really started making the step up, when he fought Klitschko. Let's face facts. Like, we're talking about guys like Charles Martin, who at the time was he still is one of the weakest heavyweight champions of all time. Won it off an injury. Charles Martin's improved, but he improved after that fight. We've got Brazil. Brazil settled as kind of a fringe contender, and he fought Molina. Oh boy, Molina. It was only then when he fought Klitschko, it was consistently, world level guys. And I think AJ's resume has been world level guys since then. As far Takam at the time would have been a world level. Parker. Who else has he fought? Ruiz, obviously. Would have fought Miller. Some good fights there. Povetkin. So AJ's built himself up some, good names on that resume. So he's talking about 5 years. Now, obviously, the plan for this year, by hook or by crook, Eddie Hearn wants to do AJ versus Fury. That fight, in my mind, is not a once-off. They could potentially do a trilogy with that fight. They could make an absolute killing from that fight. Because I think there is a rematch clause for both guys. At least that's what Eddie Hearn was saying originally. He's been naming places like Saudi Arabia, Singapore, of all places. I'm not sure what way Singapore are doing it over there. I'm assuming, given the fact that Eddie Hearn has talked about putting a show on there, they obviously, are, doing things the right way. So it's interesting. It's interesting AJ talking about it. It's the first time we've heard him candidly speak about the possibility of him, he's obviously going to retire eventually, but it's the first time we ever talk about his kind of retirement plan. He's alluding to the fact that he's in the twilight stage of his career. AJ's what it is, he's 31. I think he's about 31 years old. If he was to go on for 5 years, he'd be 36. Most heavyweights are still close to their peak, maybe even in their peak at 36, because heavyweights do tend to develop a lot later. AJ Fury, in 5 years' time, realistically, I would be surprised if Wilder's still around come next year. We're going to lose Ruiz. Eventually, he's going to retire. I wouldn't say Ruiz has many years left, to be honest with you. I mean that in the sense of I can see him making one go of it with Eddie Reynoso, and if it doesn't go well, maybe calling it. Dylan White's not going to be knocking around for much longer. Kind of 5 years. In 5 years, we'll see this era of the heavyweight division kind of fizzle out. We'll see the Furies go, we'll see the Joshuas go, we'll see the Dylan Whites go, the Wilders will be gone, Ortiz will be gone. Parker's reasonably young still, maybe he'd be still knocking around. Joe Joyce probably be gone, because Joe Joyce is older than all them guys, so Joe Joyce really doesn't have time in his side. So we'll see a lot of them guys go. Then it will be up to the newer crop. We'll need to watch the Olympics this year, especially the heavyweight division, and see kind of what they're producing in the heavyweight division. Even in the next Olympic cycle, see what the heavyweights are producing. See some of the guys we have now. Like, we obviously got Dubois coming back after the Joe Joyce loss. We've got Hrgovic. There's plenty of guys there we need to keep an eye on. And I think these will be the next crop. I think this division in 5 years, the current crop of heavyweights in 5 years, when because I don't doubt that some of these will be gone in 5 years. When we look back, we'll look back on the teens / early 2020s. I will be like, that era wasn't too bad, irrespective of what some people would think about, but AJ, if you put him back in the 90s, he wouldn't. We're not talking about in terms of all time. We're talking about in terms of that era amongst the fighters. There was good fights, and there have been good fights. There still will be good fights in this era of heavyweights. There's been upsets. I knew Ruiz could be dangerous, but I didn't think he'd beat AJ. That was just like, what? Wilder Fury, the first fight. I mean, go back and watch my videos on that first fight. They're not great quality. But you go back 2018, watch some of my earliest ever videos. I was talking about Wilder Fury 1. I was like, Wilder's gonna win. I didn't think Fury was gonna be able to outbox Wilder, and obviously it was a draw, but we got a rematch. So we've had good stuff happen in this era. So AJ talked about retirement. I mean, Fury, I can't see him being around the 5 years. So a lot of these fighters, you think about it, they're in the twilight. The AJs, the Furies. I mean, Wilder is already 35. So you'd imagine that his clock is ticking, and I mean that. I don't mean that in a disrespect. That's just the way it is. Wilder's athletic, so you imagine that athleticism is going to start to dip now. So with Wilder, you get the impression that I don't think he's going to be around much longer. Deontay Wilder, if he fights again, I think. Well, I talk about so much about Deontay Wilder, but I think if Deontay Wilder fights. If he fights the fights he wants, he'll want some build-up fights. He'll want Fury, or this team will want Fury. So, we'll see what happens with Wilder. But, yeah, AJ talked about retirement. He's given himself the next Olympic cycle plus an extra year. We'll see how that goes. I suspect that AJ, when he finishes his career, will have a couple more L's. I reckon Tyson Fury might have an L. I reckon a lot of these guys will have a couple of L's before it's all said and done. I really do. I think that's just the heavyweight division. I mean, you look at Tyson Fury, right? And for me, he's the best, right? But you see someone like AJ, and you think, right, Tyson Fury could beat AJ, right? I don't doubt Fury could beat AJ. I don't doubt AJ could beat Fury. And maybe he fights AJ, he beats AJ, then he goes and fights Usyk. And that, shorter guy, faster guy, in and out movement could offset Tyson Fury. He could get the win. But then again, Usyk could beat Tyson Fury, go and defend it against AJ, walk into a perfectly timed uppercut, and get knocked out. That's heavyweight boxing. I mean, heavyweight boxing, it's just notoriously unpredictable. That's one thing about heavyweight boxing that people need. I think that's what I think some fans underestimate, is that people say one punch can change a fight in any division. Yes and no. In divisions like the welterweight division, yes, one punch can change a fight, but in the heavyweight division, all these guys, they carry so much power, they hit so hard. One punch literally can change the course of history. Literally. I mean, Deontay Wilder Deontay Wilder's obviously very good, but he is a perfect example. He just sits back and waits for one punch. He just needs to land one shot. I mean, if you had that kind of power as Deontay Wilder had, and you were a welterweight, you'd never get away with that style. Right, there's too many variables. There's too much talent at the welterweight division. And what I mean is, if you are someone who is 5'9", 150 pounds, you're gonna have a bit more talent, just naturally, than someone who is 6'5", 250 pounds. You're gonna have more speed. You're gonna have a lot of everything. So that's the heavyweight division in a nutshell. Lads, I hope you enjoyed this video. I mean, I went in to talk about AJ and ended up talking about heavyweight boxing, history 101. So lads, I hope you all enjoyed it. Smash the like button if you did. Subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. #GMansRocks, all that good stuff, lads. I'll talk to you. Peace.